On this episode of the OG and Crab Show, it's June, so the season just got real, and the opening salvos have been fired around the next CBA. Play me a song, Crab. Welcome back to the OG and Crab Show. I'm OG, and sliding in next to me, as always, is my partner, Crab. Good afternoon, Crab.
What's up, fool?
Not much. Enjoying the beautiful weather. It's finally feeling like spring, about a month too late.
Yeah, we've had a really temperate spring going into summer here in Pittsburgh.
Memorial Day was just like cold and rainy and miserable and disgusting, but this past weekend was glorious, and I got to play a baseball game, and I hit the ball okay, and it was good.
Good for you. I'm excited for you, and I am rooting for you. I guess.
I need it. I'm usually
sure
not hitting the ball.
So it's June, OG. Do the baseball games count now? Do we count them officially?
Yes, they officially count. The baseball games finally count. It's no longer practice. It's no longer stuff that you can ignore. Now it really, really matters.
Well, before those games didn't matter, so I was just like ignoring them. Now they matter. I didn't care about any of those other games before.
Yeah, anyone who's not in on the joke, that is a meme that we have among some pals that we chat with on the internet, where we would say that nothing you're seeing right now is real back in April and in May, and you got to wait till after Memorial Day. And the way I clarify that is, yes, the games do count, but no, they're not predictive of anything.
It wasn't the old saying like, what's the Tommy Lasorda saying about like you can't win a pennant in April, but you can sure lose one in April or something like that?
I don't know if it was Lasorda, but that's the gist of it. Yeah, that's exactly it. And there's another axiom that says, don't trust anything you see in April or September.
Right. So we're going to talk about the Pirates now, I presume.
We should probably talk about the Pirates. That is ostensibly a little bit about what this podcast claims to be for.
Okay. Well, I think there are 500 teams still, and I don't think I've been shaken. A couple times I was on the boat rowing out to Loser Island, but I never got off the dock. I just was like in the boat waiting to go. We never left the dock to get to Loser Island, so I got off the boat, and I'm still kind of standing at the dock. I think at this point I'm up on the marina, like I'm in the bar at the marina, kind of drinking, waiting, looking at the boat, thinking like, should I get back on the boat at some point? And it seems to me like this team is kind of what it is, and they're good-ish. I don't want to say they're good because I'm always waiting for the other shoe to drop. Right. So I just feel like the games are interesting. The team is certainly better offensively.
Much.
Pitching wise, it's a wash. Like last podcast, if I remember correctly, yours truly told the audience that the bullpen sucks. And what happened to our bullpen? Well, it's kind of sucks. Good job, Crab. Yeah, you're the best, Crab.
Don't throw your shoulder out. Pat yourself on the back.
It's a joke, people. So the bullpen is what the bullpen is. The pitching is good, and the offense is better. And right now, you know, they swept the Twinkies. And, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this summer, OG.
There's two sides of the coin, right? And I've been guilty, certainly, of dooming whenever they get into their little like 2, 3, 4 game losing streaks, where all of a sudden it looks an awful lot like last year, and it's like, okay, here we go. But to their credit, they have pulled themselves back out of that dive, and they do sit today above 500. Indeed, they finished May with a winning record on the month. And they have, depending on which stat you like to point to, either a top 5 or certainly a top 10 offense in all of baseball. And I think you could argue that they have a probably top 10-ish starting rotation. I won't say pitching staff. in all of baseball. Of course, the bullpen has blown so many games that they remain.
But those ones didn't count, though. They didn't count.
Fortunately, they don't count. No.
Yeah. It's all gravy. The bullpen is awesome because the season starts on June 1st.
The bullpen has work to do. The bullpen has work to do to make up the ground on all those games that they lost that don't count. And speaking
let's
of
talk
the
about
bullpen,
our players. Let's talk about players that we were vibing on, because I'm vibing on a couple guys. Who are you vibing on?
I am vibing on Braxton Ashcraft.
What a dog. He's awesome.
My goodness.
Yeah.
If
A
he
Neil
isn't-
Huntington guy, too.
There you go. You got to get that in there. Make sure we know where it
Always.
came
That
from.
man knew how to build a bullpen, okay?
He sure did. Shark Tank. Braxton Ashcraft is just he looks so polished in contrast to the other young pitchers around him who really don't.
Bro,
He
he's
looks-
27. He ain't
I
young.
guess that helps. Yeah, he's old enough to rent a car, so he's not up there just
if he was Juan
winging it.
Soto, he'd be a free agent right now. It's signed to a $7,000 billion deal.
That is some good context. Yeah. He's been just a pleasure to watch pitch. He's efficient. He just fills up the zone. He gets guys out. He's getting strikeouts and keeps his pitch count down at the same time. He gets the ground ball double plays right when you need it. Like just a gem every time he goes out there. It's great. Love it. Who are you vibing on?
I like Ashcraft. I have to say I think at one point in this podcast history, I admitted that I don't hate Nick Gonzalez, and I still don't hate Nick Gonzalez. And I never quite like whenever there's Nick Gonzalez slander in the world, I just keep my mouth shut. And if I'm keeping my mouth shut, then like good, that's my way of a positive, non-passive aggressive reinforcement. So I'm like enjoying Nick Gonzalez so far. He had a home run yesterday.
Finally.
Which was like, wow, look at him go. He hit a home run. Amazing.
His first one since last July.
Anything to keep Triolo off the diamond, I'm all about. So Gonzalez is fun. I like, my son Spencer's favorite player is Spencer Horwitz. So now I'm like really tuned into Spencer Horwitz at bats.
Boy, has he been quietly excellent, hasn't he?
He has. He's been a really nice player. And Griffin, I mean, what a revelation Griffin has been since he turned 20. Now I'm a little like concerned about his forearm.
He is on the
elbow.
IL right now. He just went on the IL with a forearm discomfort. They're calling it a very mild strain of a flexor, which we all have scar tissue as fans from what that can often turn into. So we hope that's not what this is, and that a little time off will just let that get right. But yes,
hopefully, but that's usually a euphemism for Tommy John surgery.
Right.
Yeah, I don't want to say it, but
We don't want it. We don't.
Well, I'll say the
don't
unpopular
dance around
thing.
it. Say what it can mean. But
I'll just say the words.
the
other guy I'm really liking is Endy Rodriguez, because God love Henry Davis. He looks like a catcher cast from like Central Casting in like a Kevin Costner baseball movie. So he like looks like a guy that you expect, like, this is a real ball player. Look at him go. But he can't hit. So when Endy Rodriguez plays and he just hits like a double, or he hits, doesn't ground out in a situation, like he moves a runner up or something, just whatever he does, it's just such a revelation to be like, wow, a catcher is allowed to hit. This is amazing. I didn't realize they could do this. And so I'm really enjoying Endy Rodriguez right now.
I'm pretty sure there was a show last year when he went down with yet another arm surgery for yet another season that I declared his career completely over. I don't know if you remember that, but I'm pretty sure I said it. And so I've really got to cop to, I gotta eat my crow on Endy Rodriguez. At least thus far this season has been playing baseball professionally and been doing an admirable job of that. He's not beating any doors down anywhere. He's not making any all-star teams. But like you said, it's nice to see a catcher do something offensively. And his walks have been like really, really impressive. I don't ever remember him being this disciplined on base machine, but thus far, in this small sample of him since he's been called up for Joey Bart and his never-ending foot infection, he's been doing really well, getting a lot of walks, getting on base, hitting in some runs, doing pretty good.
Yeah, kudos to him. So thus far, I mean, it's June 1st. The Pirates are above 500. God love it. As a Pirates fan, I'm always waiting for their shoe to drop, so I'll continuously wait for it to drop. But as we, I remember in like 2013 feeling around this time, I think it might have been a little bit later, but around this time being like, I don't know, like so much has passed, like they're still not losing. Like, whoa, are they good? Like it took me I was so used to losing. I had seen so much of it that it was like hard to like comprehend, like, oh shit, this team is good and they're winning like consistently. Like, what does this mean? So I'm kind of waiting for this team to maybe hopefully like take that step forward where you're just like, oh wow, it's like getting later in the year and they're still like above 500. So hopefully that continues. I don't think we're going to see like prolonged Derek Shelton-esque losing streaks with this team, simply because, offensive output notwithstanding, like the pitching staff is probably just too potent to allow like a 10-game losing streak at this point. So, like you said, you see 2 or 3 games, a 4-game or whatever, but like they can get out of that and their offense is good. So hopefully they're the real deal.
And we haven't even mentioned their best hitters. I mean, Brandon Lau,
Ryan O'Hearn,
Brian Reynolds is having an excellent year after having the worst one of his career. Even O'Neal Cruz, who strikes out too much, but is on pace for a 30-30 season. Here, still a third of the way in, and he's on pace for that. He's being productive most of the time. He has his slumps, and he'll do that. But it isn't just a hot month and then nothing like last year.
At this point with him, I think last year we were like, he's what he is. We were yelling wrongly and arrogantly and confidently about how dumb and bad he was. At this point, I'm willing just to say, in a good way, like he is what he is. Like this is probably just what the guy is at this point. Like
he'll strike out a lot, and
he's gonna strike
he'll
out,
go
right,
on little heaters, and you'll love him for it. And he'll swipe a bunch of bags, and he'll mess up in the outfield more often than you'd like.
But I don't even care about any of that anymore. At this point, I'm just like, again, like I'm used to the O'Neal Cruz experience. I know exactly what to expect now on that ride. And so when we go up and down the hill and I'm getting whiplash, like that's what I signed up for.
The nice thing is he doesn't need to be that MVP candidate that we used to talk about him needing to be in order for the team to be good, because he has enough talent around him that he can just be a supporting cast member. And this goes for Reynolds too. The two of them were like the only good hitters on the team kinda last year, and now they're like the third or fourth or fifth best hitter on this team, and that suits them much better, where they don't have to try to put the team on their back because they just can't. So that's positive.
It is. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Well, there was.
There's not much else to say. It's like, okay, they're quietly kind of good. Like, let's enjoy it and let's shut the fuck up about it and let them be good and like not jinx it. If they suck, we'll be back in a fucking jiff to let everybody know that we were right and they were wrong and this team blows and fire Ben Sherrington. But right now, we'll let the industry plan hour talk about OBP and, blah, 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 blah,
yeah,
blah.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I guess like the one place I still see, other than the bullpen, the place that I still see weakness that I hope isn't exploited because it's just a matter of bad luck is the depth is not really there. They can ill afford much.
It's
in the way of
bad when
injury.
you have to call up a guy like Callahan and be like, what are we doing here? This is like a 2020 Pirate guy. How did he get here? Like, what?
And that's the position players. Like on the pitching side, like we haven't really had pitching injuries to speak of. We just got Jared Jones back, and he looked kind of rusty. At least the stat line looked rusty. He does have more pitches this time, so hopefully, as he settles into his role, it better results are to come. But there's not really anybody in Indy, and now there is a depth question with our friend Carmen Mlodzinski, who this week was told that he would be relegated to bullpen duty, and decided that he didn't like that very much and just told the team, I'm not coming to work today, and they put him on the restricted list.
Yeah, apparently though, I mean, I have a hard time with this one because in our little world, there seems to be a lot of, oh, it's not a big deal. Oh, he just needs a mental health day, crap. Don't you understand? It was really a tough day for him to be demoted to the bullpen. Like, come on, dude, he's fine. And I have a hard time grasping that perspective, only from the perspective that I have, which is guys just don't go on the restrictive list. That's like a baseball purgatory place. That's like when you're in, like Wander Franco went there, before he,
it's
like
a place where guys go when they're not allowed to play, or when
they're
can't
arrested
play,
or they can't play. Right. It's just not a place to go.
That. Yeah. It's
no,
not
it's
always
not
like criminal activity, but it's not it's an extreme measure. They're not injured, but they're not able to play, and we're not going to pay them.
Right. So, this guy is such a fucking knucklehead that he willingly decided to just play Russian roulette with his career when he has zero leverage. And this is not the NBA. This is not the NFL. You just don't have the ability to say, hey, trade me, or I'm holding out, from mini camp to get it, blah, 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 or do what Giannis is doing in Milwaukee, which is like, annoying. So this is baseball. You're a pre-arbitration guy. You have zero leverage. Every single one of those guys in that clubhouse has had some kind of hardship in their playing career at some level, and they were probably pissed off about it. And I empathize with them, but willingly going on the restricted list because you are too immature to deal with bad news is not something defensible. And I'm sure the guys in that clubhouse, because I'm a human being and you are a human being, and we have to work with other people in our lives and be around other people in our lives who are misbehaved and misbegotten and ill-informed and idiotic. And so when they act up and we have to eat their shit, it pisses us off, does it not?
Yeah,
yes.
and he did hang his teammates out to dry a little bit. It didn't go badly. They won the game, and the one who really bore the brunt of it was Cam Sanders, who, had to burn up a couple of extra bus tickets back and forth to Indy to cover the innings that should have been Carmen's. But it's more of the message that it sends.
It's exactly the message. Like, if he would have said to his teammates through his actions, oh, I'm really pissed off about this, and they'd have shown a set, Greg Brown would have been like, there's Carmen Mlodzinski out there, and he's not available out of the bullpen today, and you just seen like Carmen with his head down, just sitting there with his hands in his pockets, just being like morose about it, but available to theoretically, but sitting out in the bullpen, being present, being accounted for, then that's one thing, and I'm sure those guys would have felt differently about it. But just to be like, hey, fuck yins, guys, I'm going on the restricted list for a day. I'm fucking with my own service time, and I'm not going to get paid today. Yeah, it's only a couple days, so it's a drop in the bucket. It doesn't mean anything, but that's like an asshole move to make. It's a stupid thing to do. And then Charrington, who I have no empathy for Charrington, so to defend him for me is like, I'd rather eat shit than defend this fucking guy. But he has to go out to the media and tell people, give Mlodzinski cover to make it just seem like he had a bad day and he's going to get over it. Like, this is going to end up with a logical culmination of one of two things. He's either going to, well, actually, it's only really one thing in my mind. Eventually, he's going to have to be traded, because it may not happen now. Like, I fully expect to see Mlodzinski pitch out of the bullpen and help this team win ball games. And I think that the club expects that also. And Don Kelly expects that, and so on and so forth. But we've been hearing about how bent out of shape Majinski is about this back and forth from a starter to a reliever situation that he's been in for the better part of a year.
More than a year. This stretches back into the winter prior to last year, where apparently he was kicking around the idea that if I don't get an opportunity to start, that I'll just retire. Like I don't want to do this if I'm not starting. And so they gave him the opportunity last year, kind of on and off. And so like I feel like the ball club has been pretty magnanimous in giving him opportunity after opportunity as they're available to show that, okay, fine, here, show us what you can do. And he's been okay, but he's not good enough to displace a Jared Jones that's returning, and he's not good enough to displace a top prospect with tons of potential like Bubba Chandler, even if they're posting similar numbers in terms of whip or whatever. Like it's, you had your chance, man. And do you want to be a Major League Baseball pitcher or not?
Yeah, I just think it sends a terrible message. I can empathize with the guys in the clubhouse who would probably rather just heard him bitch behind the scenes without all of this drama, than rather have to know that this guy is such a, such a, I don't want to say selfish or me first, because that sounds like, I'm Stephen A. Smith or something, but, to be that kind of guy where he is like willingly paraded in front of the entirety of Major League Baseball. Like, look at me, I'm on the restricted list. Like the interview that he did where they asked him, I think it was Hannah Mears that asked him a question about like, how do you feel about, Jared Jones coming back before the start of, before the start of the Twin series or whatever. Like he like huffed. He was like, well, we'll support him. And he with that upward, like, I'm a master asshole. I know what I'm talking about. Game knows game, okay? When I see one of my own around, I'm well aware of it. That guy does not want to do the thing. He's pissed. He's got the upward inflection of, I don't know. I guess we'll root for him. Like, that is the way douchebags talk, okay? It's not a guy who's like, yeah, I'm a team player. I'm going to, come at this with a fresh perspective. I'm looking forward to winning the team ball games. And then he shuts his mouth and then goes behind the scenes and talks to the people behind the scenes. We never hear about it. And then what happens behind the scenes in the workplace. Like, to go out in front like this, it's just annoying. And everybody was talking about it on The Fan and all the websites. Yeah. It was just annoying.
It escaped containment in Pittsburgh because I had people asking me about it here in Maryland. Like, what's up with this like they couldn't say his name, but they knew that he was, causing issues. So he's gonna have to earn some trust back if he possibly can. We're not like, we'll see. They say he's going to join the team in Houston this week. And just suck it up and take on his new role. But I agree. I think they're gonna trade him at the earliest opportunity where they can get something out of it. It's because a little bit like Rafi Devers, right?
Except right, you can't have this guy
without the big contract.
Yeah, right. You can't have him in the locker room just being like this dude back, like complaining and just festering and being like this, just festering, malcontent.
And it's a shame because he as a guy out of the bullpen, he's been very, very effective. And like we said earlier, this bullpen could really use some help. So like it's not, we don't want to lose his capability from the team, but if he's going to be a disruption, then, so be it. Like you can't have that.
Agreed. And that's why, like, I said in past podcasts, like, I admire his willful stubbornness to just like to chart his own path. I get that energy. I have a lot of it myself. I respect that energy. But even, at some point you just have to just shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up and pitch the ball out of the bullpen, Carmen. Okay? Just shut up. That's it.
get outs, and the next time somebody's hurt, then you're right back in the rotation.
Right. And like that game, like they won the game, and therefore it is not a problem. But if you are the Pirates, you have to be pretty frustrated with the fact that you are trying to chart a course for your pitching staff so that you can maximize their innings to get this staff deep into the season as possible. And his job was to piggyback off of Ashcraft. And he just didn't show up. Yeah. So if you're Braxton Ashcraft, you're like, what? They're like, hey, yeah, he didn't come to work today, dude.
Remember how we told you were only going 5 today and it was going to be a hard out? We're going to need you to go 7 if you can.
Yeah. And what if he would have gotten hurt? Like, what if he'd have blown his arm out in an inning where theoretically Majinski should have been in there? Like, yes, nothing happened. So I don't want to hear everybody be like, oh, nothing happened. That's not the point. The point is that's what this behavior is not becoming of a team. You wouldn't tolerate it at work. You wouldn't tolerate it in Little League. You wouldn't tolerate it in the Marine Corps. You wouldn't tolerate it in a rock band or on a stage in a theater play. Like, everybody's got to do their job.
Yeah, like if you're going to say that I want to be a starter and I can do it, like get yourself, pay your dues here as a young player who's not even arbitration eligible yet. Pay your dues. And you could be the next Seth Lugo, or you could be the next Clay Holmes. Like there's so many teams out there more than ever before that are willing to look at a reliever who's got multiple pitches and say, you know what, starting pitching comes at such a premium that absolutely, let's give you another shot at this because we think we can adjust this and tweak that and get you there. But you don't get to do that when you're still making the league minimum. You just don't. It's not how it works.
Agreed.
Cool. Okay. So the Pirates are solid, but we're waiting to see more. And that's a good time to turn the page to our favorite topic, labor.
Yay. Labor. Labor and capital.
Last week, negotiations opened for the next CBA. Of course, this CBA expires at the beginning of December, and everybody anticipates a lockout. And so the Players Association opened the floor by issuing a public statement about what their proposal to make the league a better place and correct all of the problems that everybody seems to agree exist but can't agree on how to solve. And their proposal included some bullet points, which I shall read. Significant increases to the 40-man minimums, including a major league minimum salary of $1.5 million. Yeah, we've talked about that. Right? That's good. We want that. We want higher minimum salary for the players. Okay, check that box. Expanded pre-arb performance bonus program, distributing more dollars to more players. Yes, we want young players making more money sooner. That's good. We want that. Expansion of salary arbitration eligibility. What does that mean that you're ARB eligible when you're 2 years in? Does that mean that I've heard that there was stuff about expanding the Super 2 to more like Super 4, where instead of 22%, it's 44%. So they want to have more arbitration. Get guys paid sooner. There's a theme here. Enhanced compensation and contract guarantees for players in arbitration. Expansion of rules aimed at combating service time manipulation. So that's like that bonus program that they instituted, which was the reason why the Pirates danced around signing Connor Griffin a little bit after the season started and not before. And then here's where it gets interesting. Increased benefits for lower revenue clubs, like the Pirates, who lose players to free agency. No details on what that is, but benefits. Qualified free agency for players with 5 or more years. So they want to reduce the reserve period by a year. And they want anybody who's 30 to be a free agent just based on age, rather than 6 years of service time accrued. They want the luxury tax threshold to go up. and remove non-monetary penalties. So they want the luxury tax to start at a higher number, and they don't want there to be any like draft pick penalties for teams that stay above it for too long like there are today. And they want to add a competitive, this is in quotes, competitive integrity tax applying to clubs that fail to meet minimum payroll benchmarks. Sounds like a floor, Crab. And of course, expanded draft lottery. They want the draft lottery to be larger than the top, whatever, 6 or 8 or whatever it is, to further disincentivize tanking. So basically, they're saying everything that we did last time, do more of that. And here are some additional points that they're going to do. These are supposed to be the peace offerings to make this all, the sugar to make the medicine go down better. Additional proposals that are designed to improve competition while also supporting lower revenue clubs. We're going to support the Pirates and the Guardians and the Rays with the following. Increased revenue sharing that initially guarantees every small market club a minimum of $240 million in revenue every season, subject to requirements that funds be used to compete on the field. Beyond that, guarantee that clubs will be able to keep more of the stadium-related revenue they generate. Tens of millions in extra revenue sharing will go to low-revenue club. Yeah.
Wait a minute. Okay. I'm going to go back to keep more of the stadium revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, continue.
Mm-hmm. You're right. We'll come back to that. Tens of millions in extra revenue sharing will go to low revenue clubs that qualify for the playoffs or have a winning record. So we're going to have bigger bonuses if you win, more punishment if you lose, significantly increased sharing of local media revenues from high to low revenue teams. Okay, that sounds good, but maybe they left out some details about that. Curbing revenue sharing dependence by barring excessive transfers. So we're going to reduce the revenue sharing, but up top they said they were going to increase it.
Yeah,
are you reducing it, or are you increasing it, or are you reducing it? Because these two
I'm confused.
Are oppositional. Okay, it continues. Penalties for clubs that neglect to spend revenue sharing payments on payroll, and draft picks and other benefits for low revenue clubs active in free agency and other signings.
I mean,
shall I translate?
It just sounds like more of the same to me.
It's more of the same, but worse.
Yeah, the only difference is that there's this floor proposal, which the owners will never accept just a floor. Regardless if you have, like, it doesn't matter if you have some kind of mechanism to share the funds, because I've already read, and before I get yelled at by our illustrious friend Jim Rosati of the Industry Plan Hour, like, I've been told that I always do this thing, but like, I read a lot of stuff and I usually synthesize it down, and I've read a billion pieces of information about this proposal, and everybody's like, well, those Pirates and the Guardians, they ain't gonna spend that money. They don't want to spend. Like, they're not taking it out of their pockets and they're not spending it. Like, there would in theory be a mechanism where everybody would share more of the pie in order to facilitate said spending, right? But I don't think the owners will ever accept that without any type of top end cap. And so this is just seems like more of the same, and
it's the same but worse. Like they're so like to return to some of these numbers, they say they want to guarantee every club 240 million in revenue every season. Every club makes more than that already. Like, I would be shocked if even the Marlins and the A's aren't clearing that number today. And so, like, that's nothing. That is not helpful at all. Like, we're not increasing revenue sharing if that is your goal, is to like get everybody to a point where they're already past. Like, that does nothing. And the rest of these proposals, they're saying, let's let the Dodgers keep more of their revenue let's let
That's the thing that jumped out to me.
Yeah,
the most.
let's let them keep more of it and spend more of it. Like that's what the bottom line here is, that this proposal is, we kind of like the structure that we have today. We want it to be like more bifurcated. We want a greater disparity of spending, because we think that this is a choice that the owners make based on this like want to win narrative that we've invented, where strangely only the high revenue clubs want to win. So let's change the rules so that they keep more of their revenue.
I hate
and let's
that
let
argument.
them spend it. Because that's the only way it'll ever get spent. If we take that money and spread it around to all these Scrooge McDucks that are in the flyover states, they'll never spend it. They'll never spend it because they don't want to. They don't want to win, Crab. That's the narrative that informs all of these proposals.
No owner in any sport, whether it's Bob Nutting or it doesn't matter. Like, they don't want to win. They want to make money. Fans want to win. Players want to win.
Right.
People that own assets and large investment vehicles want to make money. The winning is just something you do to make the money. You make the money either way. So I hate this argument. No owner wants to truly win. They want to make money. And the winning sometimes happens. Yeah, I think of this as like a Premier League system. I don't know. I've not seen that. I'm using it as my term because it seems like they want to truly have those who are the richest keep their game day revenues and their revenues surrounding the ballparks and so on, so they can continuously use them for the top echelon of free agents. Try to bring up the middle class, so to speak, and the lower middle class of baseball, but that's truly like a top six system. That's almost, I mean, in my mind, you would just have more of like the top six and then everybody else. And if you have, Cinderella that gets in, that's awesome, great. But we want to make sure that we have the ability to go sign, 3-year Kyle Tucker, whatever Kyle Tucker made. I forget what his contract was, but it was like those types of contracts. Right. With the Dodgers or the Mets or the Phillies or the Red Sox at any given time. And to me, that just sucks. It's more crap. I don't really want it as a fan. It doesn't excite me. It does not spark joy.
They had their surrogates out putting some clarification on some of these. Their floor proposal, as they call it, competitive integrity tax, would be $150 million payroll, which obviously the Pirates aren't there, and several other teams are also not there. But most of baseball is over that, more than half at least, I think, just off the top of my head. I don't have the numbers open in front of me. And they want to create these carve outs for the part of the industry that can still produce revenue, the game day receipts. And they say, oh, go squabble over that shrinking, dried up husk of a pie, the RSNs that are all going out of business and folding. You can share your local media money, you peons, but you may not have access to the gate receipts of the clubs that can sell their seats for $300 a pop.
And those clubs would be
the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Cubs and the Phillies, etc.
That's 5. It's a big 6 system. They want a big 6 system that we see.
Toronto's there. Yeah. Boston could be.
Yeah. I don't want a big 6 system because I'm Leicester City. End of story. I don't want that.
We're not.
I want what they have in the NFL. I want to be OKC or San Antonio in the Western Conference Finals. I want to be, a small market team which has the ability to spend.
I want to be the Penguins. I want to be the Steelers.
The Penguins, right? The Packers. Yeah, whatever.
Sure.
I get it. That's what I want.
So that's the players' proposal. So the following day, the owners came out with a proposal, and it's a doozy. They did not beat around the bush. They came out and...
Well, before you move on, though, just to summarize, so the MLBPA wants basically higher minimums, earlier earning power, penalties for cheap teams, and a floor, basically. right? Is that what we can say?
They want greater spending on player payroll across the board, and they want to do the opposite of what it would be necessary structurally to make that happen. They want to take revenue away from smaller markets and take the dole away from those smaller markets. So they want to reduce the revenue sharing pie. They want to reduce their access to revenue sharing money from large markets and make it so that the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Phillies can keep more of their own revenue and turn around and spend it without penalties at a higher rate with larger luxury tax thresholds.
Yeah, but I was just kind of doing like a bottom line. Like,
Okay,
remember that Trump sign that said like
bottom line.
Yeah, I
I'm
remember
no
that
good
Trump
at that.
sign that said like Trump cheap, Kamala expensive or whatever. Like, yeah, I'll try to do one of those. Like,
Yeah, sure.
So the MLBPA is like higher minimums, earlier earning power, more revenue sharing, penalties for cheap teams, and a floor. That's what's on the sign.
Pretty much.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the owners.
The owners are asking for a hard cap and floor. They didn't do bullet points, so I'm going to try and make them up as we go. Well, I mean, you
that's a shocker. I mean, it's
kind of
seismic.
is. Like we're not even quipping there. That's not a hot take, because this is the first time that they've like brought forward that concept since 1994. They have not attempted to bring this to the table in 30 years. So it is a really big deal that they're opening with, we want a cap and we want a floor. And we even have some numbers, and they're pretty specific. In 2027, the salary floor would be set at $171.2 million, meaning that 12 teams would be required to increase payroll by a combined $617 million versus what they're doing this year to meet that minimum threshold. Those 12 teams, based on the 2026 opening day payrolls, are the Marlins, Guardians, Rays, White Sox, Cardinals, Nats, Pirates, Twins, Brewers, Athletics, Rockies, and Reds. The cap would be $245.3 million, meaning that 8 clubs, the Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, it's not a big 6, it's a big 8. Dodgers, Mets, Yankees, Blue Jays, Phillies, Red Sox, Padres, and Braves would be required to reduce payroll by a combined $578 million. Cap and floor figures would utilize competitive balance tax payrolls. That's a way of coming up with a number that isn't exactly the real money they're spending, but it involves a bunch of calculations around average annual values and rolls up a bunch of player benefits, etc. So they're just clarifying what they mean by that money. It's not the cash spend, it's the CBT rated spend. The proposed salary cap would be slightly higher than the current CBT, the lowest CBT threshold, which stands at $244 million. So this is them trying to sell the ideas like, look, we're not making that big of a change. We're not asking you to do that much different. And our floor is higher than the one you're asking for. Of course, the devil's in the details. And they go on to give a bunch of statistics about competitive balance, and we've talked about in the past. I'm not going to get into that because we've sort of dismissed that canard that like there are terrible teams in cap leagues that are terrible every year. This isn't going to be a
I've seen a lot of this. I've seen it already.
Well, this is they're
like
attempting
the red herring.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, they're doing two things. They're trying to appeal to fans, and they're trying to head off at the pass the argument that the Players Association will make.
Well, the cap didn't stop tanking in the NBA. I can't have a cap. But
right.
That
exactly.
doesn't mean anything.
Right.
Yeah.
So they go on, and the next section is a 50-50 split of revenue. This is another kind of big deal, but not as big as they're making it seem. Under the league's proposal, players would receive 50% of baseball revenue. We don't define what that is, and the players that's going to be their big challenge.
That's another red herring.
It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. It matters.
They're just going to do what they do in the other sports, which is like this idea that everything that is going to somehow
it's definitely overstated. Because you'll hear a lot about the Battery and baseball villages and real estate and Wrigleyville and all of that stuff, and you can go look at the Braves financial statements and see that the Battery is like 12% of their earnings each year.
It's just, I don't even want to have this discussion because to everybody who's listening, I'm just going to start positing hypotheticals like we're at the Supreme Court.
Right.
Like theoretically, the Dolan family who owned the New York Knicks owned Cablevision in New York. Do the players have a stake of Cablevision as a result because their labor created Cablevision? You know, we could take this all the way down to its logical. Is that part of basketball related revenues?
There's prior art for this, like you said, for them to follow. So like that's going to be a fight. That's going to be a key fight. What is and isn't baseball revenue? But this is the owners are saying, leaving aside what is and isn't baseball revenue.
The nutting newspapers part of baseball revenue? I'm serious. Like it's it's so ridiculous that people are like, oh, I don't know what it could mean. It means you sell a hot dog and a pennant to me and OG and some Iron Cities. That's baseball related revenue. That goes in the pool. You know, game day parking probably includes all of that. It's going to be what the Penguins do. Like when we go see a Monster Jam at I still call it the Civic Arena. Even that's not.
It's not even the same building.
It's like the same. It's 20 years dead. I still call it that. But if like you go see Monster Jam at a Civic Arena or PPG Pates Arena, that's not hockey related revenue, even though the Penguins built that place through their hockey related labor, so to speak. You know, so. This is so over the top, and only in baseball do we just get into this like, well, I don't know what it means in baseball. I just don't know.
No, I'm not. It's not only in baseball because what is and isn't revenue. I mean, that's been battled out in the other leagues that have dealt with this.
The other leagues have codified it.
Yes, but they had to negotiate it, so they did it, and they'll do it here too. So, like, yes, we can stipulate that. But this is the league saying that we want to do what the other leagues are doing. We want to codify a 50-50 split of the revenue of the league is going to be what defines the cap. We're going to index, this is what all the other leagues do. We're going to index our salary cap and floor to what our revenues are. So as the revenue goes up, the cap goes up, the floor goes up, line goes up, all that. So they're saying that we want to implement a system like the other leagues have and have been operating under for decades in some cases and have been happily re-upping without labor battles like the NHL just did for the third time. I
thought they were all serfs in the NHL.
They all got together and said, you know what, we're doing pretty good. Keep it going. Let's renew the subscription. Let it auto renew. We'll do it again. Run it back.
I thought all of those like internet denizens were out there freeing them from the bonds of their servitude and organizing them into like a communist vanguard that will take back the means of production. You mean they're not out there organizing the NHL players? And they're just slaves, aren't they? It's crazy. Wow. Crazy stuff.
So yeah, 50-50 split, just like the other leagues. And they go on to talk about how like the NFL players get 48, NBA get 49 to 51, NHL is 50-50. Like this is stuff that gets negotiated and all the other leagues did it. And baseball wants to do it here. So it's nothing revolutionary. It's pretty straightforward. And then finally, the league's proposal would centralize revenue from all local media, sharing it equally among 30 teams. So
that's a big deal.
That's a very big deal because if you think back to our landmark episode about where the Dodgers get their money to spend so much, it's the local media that they get to keep more of than any other team because of special circumstances.
And that blows up this argument that I've been hearing for the better part of my adult life. Every 5 years or so, and these CBAs come up, and I'm reading through the baseball world, you know, and checking out, you know, comments and podcasts and stuff. And there's always this Jeff Passan, Ken Rosenthal, like screeching that, you know, they'll never agree to that. They'll never agree to that.
This is them agreeing to it.
They just blew it right out of the water. They don't care.
They're still saying that stuff. Those surrogates are still saying, I can't believe the Dodgers would give up this advantage. I can't believe the Yankees would give up this advantage. Well, guess what? By putting this out there, they're already on board. Or if they're not,
they are.
They don't have.
They are.
If they don't have unanimity, then like there's enough of a voting block to say tough shit, this is going to be the deal that we're putting on the table. But I think you're right. They're on board with it. And the reason I think they're on board with it is because they know that this local media party is over and that it already fell apart for most of the league, and that they are on a shrinking and sinking island, that if they're smart, they'll get off of it now and exchange it for a cap.
I don't think, we had talked about this at different parts, and we boomerang around on these ideas, but now we have some proposals in front of us. And the more that I've ruminated on it, the more that I truly believe that this group of owners are different in the sense that they're probably more unified than their counterparts were in the past. And therefore that's more dangerous to the players. There's also
fewer used car salesmen and more MBAs.
Right. More Silicon Valley, more global financial powerhouse wealth in there. Mm-hmm. And so these guys also understand that the line is going up in the other sports, and the key to the line going up in the other sports and creating large returns on investment for those other owners, of which they share cities with. They're not blind. Do you think the Red Sox guys don't realize that the Celtics sold for $6.7 billion? That's a lot of money.
Penguins are worth more than the Pirates. The
Pirates are right. That's right. And so I do think that this ownership group, 30 owners, are probably a lot more unanimous in their viewpoints than they have been in the past. There's no George Steinbrenners to put a wrench in the works. And that's, if you're a player, that's not great. That's not ideal. There's always this narrative that I see everywhere about the union will never accept that. Of course the owners and the union will negotiate as per the law of the land, and they'll do so in good faith. This in 1994, we've discussed this, but in 94, they tried to break the union, and, that got them in trouble, and so on and so forth. Mm-hmm. They're not going to try to break the union. They're just going to negotiate. And when they reach an impasse, they'll lock them out. End of story. And if they have to wait a year, I truly think this time we may not have baseball in 2027. And I don't think the television stuff matters as much as maybe we thought it did at some point in time, because I think that, NBC and Amazon and Peacock or Netflix or whatever, all these players that are going to be in the game for the rights of the new and revamped Major League Baseball games, rights packages and stuff, if they have to wait a year, they will, because they're buying an option on future programming, which will be worth even more. So I really don't think that it matters that much that baseball, how can baseball just shut down? I don't understand. Jeff Passan doesn't understand. He thinks it's crazy because of the television. Somebody think of the television deals. The Suits and NBC, they're fine, we want a better product. And if we have to wait to get it, they all went to the same schools. They're all friends. That's the thing we don't understand. We refuse to think like them. We think like fans. We think like this is a public trust. And we think that, they think like we do. They don't. They don't. They think like they are interested in making that line even bigger. And if they have to pay a little down payment of time to do so, they probably will. And so, I don't know, dude. This time I looked at this plan and I thought to myself two things. One, this is a radical shift because we've never seen them. Now, I'm going to read a plan to you. 50-50 split of revenue between owners and players. There would have been a floor and a cap between 84 and 110% of average payroll. A 4-year phase-in for a proposed 7-year agreement. Eliminating salary arbitration. Free agency in 4 years instead of 6, but the player could keep him by matching the best offer until he reached 6 years. Minimum salaries for under 4-year players would be collectively negotiated. Does that sound like this offer to you currently?
I know what that offer is, but
what
I'll
is
play
that
along.
offer?
That is the 1994 offer.
Correct. That's the 94 offer. I'm not reading the new offer. I'm reading an article from Los Angeles Times from June 15th, 1994. And that's what was reported then. So, I don't know what that means, but it means they're
it's
certainly willing to go.
revolutionary. Yeah,
The last time they lost games, that was the offer on the table. This time, that's the same offer on the table, and everyone's like, they're not going to lose games, bro. They're not losing them, I'm telling you. Like, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme, as the saying goes.
I had been on the side of that the owners would get cold feet and not go to the mat this time because of those TV contracts, those national TV contracts coming up. But when this thing dropped, I had to really question that because this is extremely aggressive as an opener, I would say. Like, because this none of the stuff that the players laid out, none of the stuff that the owners laid out here is what the final agreement, whenever that occurs, it's not going to be these exact figures, but this is an opening framework for negotiation, is very aggressive. And I did a little bit of figuring. I went back to some of my old spreadsheets where I was looking at the cable deals as they were decaying, and so on and so forth, like what the central revenue estimations are. And it's about $5 billion if you add up all of the local media, even after the decay of the RSNs. If you add the central revenue, like merchandising and sponsorships and national TV, all that stuff, plus what's left of local media, you get about $5 billion. And if you divide that by 30, you get a little less than $170 million. That's practically exactly dead on with what MLB put into this opening proposal as their floor. And they're saying they want to do local media sharing. It's right there. Like they figure that if nothing else, if they just share local media, they can insist that even the lowest spending teams, we're going to hand them enough money to have this much payroll, and then they just have to make up the rest of their costs on game day, selling tickets, sponsorships, etc.
Which is what the NFL does, I believe.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what the NFL does. And so this isn't quite what the NHL does.
So this looks like a bit of the NHL side of things, plus some rigidity that the NFL has.
The NHL is more comprehensive. The NHL pulls all revenue, period. And
right. I get that, but I'm saying, but like some of the I saw there was a stipulation there about escrows and stuff. I'm not sure. I assume the other leagues probably do that, but I know that hockey does it.
Hockey does it. But that's something that that is a detail up for negotiation. So whenever you hear, especially from the PA, a bunch of but what about? It's like, guys, negotiate it. Every last piece of the rules and the guidance and all of this stuff is open for negotiation, and all of it has a value. And find the middle that you can live with, or there, like you said, there won't be a season, because this proposal had me pivot, and I'm now
I'm not sure where you negotiate from this. I have a theory that they'll negotiate some of like it's the small details, right? But it's the stuff that's
not in here. So the owners don't have in here anything about. They don't have anything about arbitration going away, or what happens to the reserve clause, or what the minimum salaries look like, or all of those things. There's a bunch of bullet points that the players care about, and they expose themselves as saying, here's our priorities. We want to get young players paid faster. That's very important to us.
And the owners are going to say, we can do that with this system.
Exactly. So if they can,
defenseman for the Sharks that makes more than Paul Skeens. He's like a third pairing defenseman that nobody knows his name, who makes $1.1 million a year, or that, second string running back for the Seahawks that makes, more money on his rookie deal, and so on and so forth.
Exactly.
There's fucking college kids that are making more money than guys in Major League Baseball, for crying out loud.
So like the players have, there's all kinds of things that the players, and you'll hear them talk about it. We heard Trevor May talk about it when we were making fun of him a few shows ago. Like there's things that the players have convinced themselves, oh, they'll never do that. They would have to give us earlier free agencies. Like, yeah, so what? If there's a cap, the arbitration doesn't matter. All of these artificial constraints that have been placed on earnings of players are moot when there's a salary cap and a salary floor. That's the constraint now. Everything that you do inside of that construct, go nuts. Be a free agent after 2 years. Who cares? Every team the team that has you now can afford to keep you. Like all of that stuff is in play.
There's nothing in this proposal about like keeping, I assume they're going to try to do something with like, my guess is I don't have any knowledge of this. I'm just making shit up, just projecting. They've taken a little bit of the NHL stuff. They've taken some of the NFL stuff. The thing I like about the NBA system is that they have these like, really rigid like player deals that are like, if you're a first team NBA player with X amount of service time and you've been in the league for X amount of years, like you're able to get this deal from your team, and it takes up this much of the cap. And they have like mid-level exemptions for like guys that are like 37. They just like sit on the bench.
Well, there's
like
the old Larry Bird rule, and there's qualified free agents in the NFL, and like the restricted free agents. Excuse me, but like there's all kinds of like artifices that they put together to like find ways to keep stars at home and like see and on and on and on. Like all those details are not in this proposal,
correct?
Because they're still to be negotiated. Right. That's the ammunition that they have to come back and say, look, these are the things that we really want. We can give you a lot of what you really want if you think about this differently. Stop thinking about this as taking money away from Juan Soto and start thinking about it as giving way more money to like 78% of the body of your union. The median salary in Major League Baseball, Crab, is the minimum salary. The median is the minimum.
It's what's nuts about the union is it's so top heavy, and that yet I'm gaslit. Like, look, I'm pro labor in every aspect of my life. These guys play a game for a living. They do create value. It's billions and billions of dollars of revenue that's created by them. That's full stop. Period. I don't go to see Bob Nutting slap dicks with Steve Cohen on a field. I don't. I watch Connor Griffin. I watch Juan Soto, et cetera, et cetera. Having said that, like the players are, I'm being consistently gaslit that there's somehow these salt of the earth guys that, like Brad Pitt isn't a union. I don't think he's a salt of the earth guy. He makes $50 million in movies and SAG-AFTRA. Are there stagehands in that union that live on?
There's a hell of a lot of people you couldn't name in SAG-AFTRA who are making scale and aren't Brad Pitt.
My next door neighbor was a SAG-AFTRA card member. He was in 2 movies and Guiding Light before he moved away. When he was my neighbor, he showed me his card one time. But anyway, point is that so it's so top heavy. The union is that. You would think that the union's job is to get as much money for their members as possible. And if this system was going to do that, they would be in favor of doing so. Most times, your membership wants to get paid as much money as possible for the work that they do. But this union in particular is so beholden to agents and the apparatchiks around it and the top echelon guys that, you could put... look, I'm not pro labor. I'm not pro billionaire. I don't, but I'm also a realist in this world and realize these guys control the world. They all do. They own the means of production. We work for them. It's a sad fact. Americans like to do this thing where we like to gaslight ourselves that capitalism somehow is the squishy thing that works differently than how it really does. And then we're always perplexed as to why it's doing the things it's doing to us. I don't understand. I was told that it was regulated and it wasn't going to do these things. Like, it would kill you. It would poison your children. And it did, in order to make the line go up. So these are the guys on the other side of the coin. They clearly want to make that line go up. The union should be interested in getting as much of that pie as possible for their members. So, like, to me, I'm still like flummoxed as this is a better deal. Yes, it suppresses salaries. No fucking shit. Yes, Bryce Harper, you will have to suck the toothpaste out of a smaller tube when you brush your teeth. Okay? But like, nice Evan Sisk will get more money. Andy Rodriguez will get more money. Paul Skeens will be getting more money under this system and hitting free agency faster. Like, you would think that these guys would want that, but they are so
they don't think
bent
about
out
it
of
that
shape.
way. They don't think about what they can get as a benefit. They all think that they are the next Juan Soto or the next Yamamoto, that they're the guy who's going to go and ink that record-setting, market-setting deal, not like these other schlubs that they're playing with. They think that they're all temporarily embarrassed Juan Sotos just waiting to go and get the gravy train. And they're, I mean, of course they're not, but you know, they have that competitor's brain, I guess, that they don't want to think about not being the dude.
You know, this is, and the thing about this is, I think for the first time in a long time, I've said this on this show, and I'll say it again. In '94, you know, we were little kids, so I wasn't like clued into the world like I am now, but I remember it really clearly. I remember like being shocked that baseball stopped. It was in August. I remember watching games on TBS, and then the next day there was like a rerun of Star Trek, and I was like, what? You know, it was weird. And but people moved on in their lives. Like I remember that summer, it just moved right along, went back to school, and there was all this drama, you know. But that generation of people like were just getting acclimated to the ideas of like the salary cap. Now, fast forward 30 odd years later, and everybody knows exactly what the mechanism is. They know exactly how it works. Their teams that they follow all have cap implications. You know, will the Thunder be able to afford their guys? Because Chet is going to make $50 million under the cap next year, and he shot 2 for 14 from the field in Game 7 or whatever. Patrick Mahomes makes such and such under the cap. The Saints are in cap hell. You know, will Malkin and Crosby be able to stay under the cap? You know, blah blah blah. Everybody knows how the systems work now, so I truly think that the owners understand that this generation of fans have a lot more understanding, and therefore are probably able to be won over a little bit easier than their forefathers were. Because in '94, nobody knew what the fuck they were talking about. They just knew baseball was off, and that was the national pastime, and how dare they've never missed a World Series. And now I don't think people care about that as much. I think they want to have a product where there's a lot of parity and everybody has investment and eyes on the product. And if you have eyes on the product, you're selling gambling, you're selling revenue, you're selling gambling, you're selling, you know, you're generating game day revenue, you're generating television ads, you know, and this is the better way to do that. And I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but
I come at it from like a pragmatic perspective when I think about like if I were an arbitration judge tasked with solving this problem for these two parties and handing out something that I thought was fair for both sides, that there is a finite amount of money in the industry of baseball, that it's coming from revenue or it's coming from debt in one form or another, and that's about it. That there isn't this infinite font of money that the way the players union talks about it, you would think that there was just a boundless
just do what the Padres did, money. Bro. Just go do what the Padres did. Everybody should be a Padre. They should drain the family trust and get the team sold out from underneath the living relatives to chase the dream of a cancer patient who just wants to spend before he peels off this mortal coil. Why can't all of the owners just die of cancer and spend their way out, says the MLBPA.
Something like that. But when you think about this as a finite sum, That finite sum is being carved up today. This is a pie. There is a zero-sum game at play here, and it is being carved up today in a very unequal manner. You have an extremely top-heavy union, and like I said, the median salary is the minimum salary. Most of the guys in baseball are not making $1 million right now. The vast, vast majority are not making $1 million. But a handful at the top are making hundreds of millions of dollars over the course of their career. And so you have an opportunity here as a union to better distribute. You say you want to get guys paid sooner. You say you want to get them paid, get them access to free agency earlier. There is an opportunity to do that in this context.
I'm the union, and I don't want that. I want all the owners to spend, and then drop dead with $300 million of debt in their pockets, so that
that's kind of true. That is what they're asking for.
Can get paid more money while Bryce Harper can get paid more money. That's what I want.
There's also this undercurrent that I sense in the comments from Bruce Meyer and his surrogates, that they like to bring up the subject of franchise values as if that has something to do with how, like what the levels of the pay should be. Like they seem to be deeply offended that the franchise values go up. I mean, why is that bad, fellas? I never heard
Patrick Mahomes talk about the Chiefs' franchise value. Have you heard SGA talk about OKC's franchise value? Do you ever hear anyone else in another sport utter the words franchise value in any context?
Only when one sells.
I mean, a player.
Yeah,
or
right. Yeah. I mean,
like
personally,
a
no,
adjacent
but
podcast. Do you think, the old man in the 3 podcast between LeBron and JJ Redick, they're talking about this, or Steve Nash? No, they don't talk about this. I don't see hockey spitting chicklets talking about franchise valuations. This baseball brain thing annoys me to the core. I hate it.
Oh, yeah.
But so the franchise values go up. I want my house to be worth more, so when I sell it, I make more money. Like, what are they? Why again?
If there's a 50-50 split with the teams and the players, that's roughly the break-even point, according to guys who used to work in the industry. Like, if you listen to David Sampson's podcast, he'll say that like that's the back of the napkin break-even point operationally. We've talked about operating revenue and operating expenses, and we go to the Braves and we see that they basically break even. Sometimes they're in the red, sometimes they're in the black, but not very much in either direction. Operationally, they break even, but their franchise values go up. That's what the owners care about. That's where they make their real money. We've made a bunch of shows about that in the past, and they're just, it's, seminal work on our parts. Bravo. But that's where the real money is. I know. That's where the real money is. The real money is in the franchise values. So to turn around and say like, oh, well, it's not enough that you're offering us a 50-50 revenue split. What about the franchise values? Well, what about the franchise values? You don't own them.
But that's baseball revenue, according to Jeff Passan and all these fucking idiots out there who want to make these esoteric arguments about the franchise wouldn't exist without the players. OG, so put that in your pipe and smoke it. What do you say about that? Huh.
If these guys would get their heads out of their asses and take a fresh look at what opportunity stands in front of them, they can extract basically everything they ever wanted in exchange for a cap, I think. I don't know why the owners would balk at the idea of free agency after 2 or 3 years, eliminating arbitration completely, getting rid of the qualifying offer. Like, think about anything that the players want to get rid of and change. It's there for you if it's a cap system, and the floor will ensure.
Contracts? What about those big contracts, bro? I don't understand how they're gonna what are they gonna do?
They'll figure it out.
Otani?
They'll figure it out.
I see all these ridiculous and hear all these ridiculous
it'll get
arguments.
folded in. You know what? Here's another thing. If you go and look on you can look at the projections for future years, like Fangraphs has their payroll pages, like commitments in the future. Guess how many teams have a committed CBT payroll above this cap right now? Guess how many?
like 3.
One.
Okay, wow.
The Dodgers.
Not even the
Like,
Mets?
I don't have it open right now, but like I'm pretty sure when I went and looked, it's definitely a tiny number. So when you look at the cap and floor, which is a pretty wide spread, I think that they're saying this would be in 2027. I think those numbers would gradually narrow together to be a closer band like the other leagues have over time, because it does take time to grandfather stuff in. You do have to age out the contracts of Harper and Ohtani, and you're never going to, I mean, Soto's contract doesn't age out to like 2040, but you figure it out, right? But there's room for doubling the minimum salary in a salary cap system or better. There's room for early free agency. There's like you can create a middle class that's missing now in the union. If you get guys to free agency at 26, all of them, and you have every team able to bid on them. Now, they're not going to get bid up the way that they're used to right now when you reach 26. If you're a free agent at 26 and you're a stud right now, you're setting records. That would stop being the case, but you would have lots and lots more guys out there getting the kinds of contracts that Ryan O'Hearn just got, or rather than the kinds of contracts that Kyle Tucker just got. And there would just be more of them. You're spreading it out instead of focusing it at the very narrow tippy top.
Right. If we go by 94's offer, free agency was in 4 years instead of 6. I can't imagine that in 30 years they're somehow not going to add that caveat into it. So I would say that they're probably willing to blow up the whole system.
I would, if I'm the players, I'd say 3 or we're not playing. Like, that's the thing. Right. Like they can choose to play hardball on stuff that isn't like, let them have one thing and like give us everything else, and let's not miss any games. But they're not going to do that because their leadership is already signaling intransigence. So I think I might owe our pal Plague a Coke that games might be missed after all.
They're going to miss some games. I mean, I'm fully expecting that they're going to miss games. What's the codified number of revenue split in Major League Baseball under the current CBA?
There isn't one.
How can that possibly be? They have the strongest union in North America, so I'm told.
Well, it's a free market.
When they put that in writing,
it's a free market. We want the free market to dictate.
So how much is it like relative? Like what do they think?
What are they actually getting in the current system? Yeah. It's not 50. I mean, I think it's it depends on what you count and how you count it, but it tends to be in the vicinity of like, high, like 46, 47, 48%. And okay. They'd be guaranteed 50 with this system. That's a much better deal. If I was a rank and file guy, like, I want to know I'm getting more. That's the thing. It's like the rank and file. This is such an obvious slam dunk win for the rank and file if they're allowed to, consider it themselves and not have, the elite that are doing the negotiation for them steering all the money themselves. That's probably an unfair characterization because the executive subcommittee right now includes pre-arb guys, including Paul Skeens. And there's a reason why he's up there. I wonder what that reason is. Because he's probably he's hoping to be a truly fully fledged Juan Soto at some point, and this is the way for him to help negotiate that future system where he can reach his final form. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that would be my guess. I think I saw that he was invited, that he was asked. It wasn't something that he went and sought out for himself, but it was offered like, hey, you should go do this. And he's like, okay, sure. Yeah, for those reasons I just articulated. Yeah. Yeah. Because they see in him a guy who will set the market. And so let's get him in the room. Let's get him indoctrinated. Right. Yeah. Correct. Let's get his skin in the game so that when he's out there in Pittsburgh doing interviews with Greg Brown or Jason Mackey or whomever, like, he says the words we want him to say. Okay. That's it. That's my theory. So what else we got? Anything else, OG? Nah, I think that's it. We've been going on and on and on. We're at $1.20, so we should probably tie it off. Okay. All right. Well, this was a
it's fun yelling session.
We'll have
I'm
to do this
excited to
more
see-
often.
I'm excited to see
now that the
next-
baseball counts, right?
Yeah, those other games are just, it was like extended spring training.
Hey, we're gonna see each other in a couple of weeks, aren't we?
Yes, that would be exciting. But now that there's gonna be more offers, I'm waiting to see what, what the next steps are going to be in the media, because a lot of this negotiation happens in the media because they want to win the hearts and the minds of the fans because they need our money. And my theory would be that you're going to see the players kind of negotiating against themselves in a little bit of a way, where the owners are just going to say, this is the offer. Like we can tinker, but this is going to be the shell of what we're going to stay within. Yeah. And the important thing to remember for those who don't understand this process or weren't alive for it, and this is another thing that, not to go on a diatribe, but very quickly, a lockout and a strike are different, as we talked about. But in '94, part of the reason why we didn't get what we got is because they did not lawfully, like I said a million times, they did not lawfully bargain to a lawful impasse. The owners just try to say, like, fuck you, eat this shit sandwich. And the players said, well, let's go to the courts and see what the courts have to say. And in '95, they had an injunction filed where she found, it was actually current Justice Sotomayor, found that the owners committed unfair labor practice against the players because they were not lawfully bargaining. So she just restored the framework of the old CBA and told the two sides to go back to the table and negotiate. And by that particular time, the owners had lost so much momentum and public facing goodwill, and that people were so desperate to get baseball back in their lives that the owners just basically kind of acquiesced, and they did not create a new CBA. They just negotiated on top of the old CBA, and the stuff that the players threw out in '94 was very similar to the stuff that we got now, where they had kind of like a mealy-mouthed like proposal, where their proposal in '94 was like, hey, let's have like a luxury tax. And so they ended up negotiating and accepting a lot of the players' proposals. So, and that's some of the system we have in place today. So it's like, we're not going to see that this time. That's what I've been seeing on the internet like crazy. People are just like, don't understand that this is not going to have the same kind of like steps that the last one had. This time they're going to negotiate everything lawfully, and I do not believe the owners will budge, and they will lock them out. And once they do that, and the courts are like, yeah, you guys did all the stuff, like you're locked out, like then the players will be in a position that they've never been in, and we'll see where it goes. We'll see if we get there. But that's kind of what I think will happen.
My closing thought is that contrary to what a lot of the reactions around baseball were to these two proposals, aside from the obvious, I don't think they're that far apart from each other. If you just look at the details and don't look at the top line, the players obviously are absolutely opposed to a cap as a matter of doctrine, not as a matter of practicality, just strict doctrine. They're opposed to it.
Yes, but they were also opposed to something like that in '94, and
but the point is that if you look at the like where the rubber meets the road asks that they want, those are all available to them in the context of a cap system. These two sides, if they can get out of their own way, could conceivably come up with something agreeable to both of them that gets them most of what they want, and not miss baseball games, which they both say they want to do. They say they want to not miss baseball games. That would be bad. It's bad for the owners because there's no revenue without the baseball games. And it's bad for the players because they're losing a season of their precious prime. So like there is motivation to find some middle ground here. And I think there is like a ripe, rich, fertile middle ground to be found if they can just get their heads out of their asses. It doesn't have to be as bad as everybody thinks it'll be.
We shall see.
We shall.
Excitement abounds.
Until next time, thanks for listening and watching and subscribing and following and all the things.
Or you cannot do those things. I don't care.
And we will make another show, as always, when we feel like it.
Yeah.
Take it easy, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.